Obviously, I am not an academician or a great thinker like Yogindra Bhai, but I have the opportunity of working with him for the last few months, and I've learned quite a bit from him. I was told when I came here that I should be talking nice things about India, not be too negative. But I'll be very honest, we came to fight a system which I thought was quite corrupt. And I'll be very honest in my speech today about what I think are the problems in India, what are the challenges. Obviously, India used to be a powerful economy. It used to be almost 25 to 30% of the global GDP for almost 1800 years after Christ. And somewhere down the line, because of colonization or the Industrial Revolution, not participating in it, we lost our way. And since independence, I think corruption has been a big problem in India. We lose a large part of our GDP because wealth is concentrated in a very few hands. The gap between the haves and the have-nots has expanded over a period of time. And I think the Aam Aadmi Party was born out of this crusade against corruption. Swami Vivekananda once very famously said that society does not go down because of the actions of the corrupt, but because of the inactions of the good people. And there were a few brave hearts who took Swamiji very seriously. Satyendra Dubey in 2003, he was an employee of the National Highway Authority of India. He saw that there is a lot of corruption happening in the construction sector. He wrote a letter to the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, so stating about the corruption there, and he attached his resume separately. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister's office sent that letter to the Surface Transport Ministry, which was then sent to the vigilance officer. And Satyendra Dubey, instead of being rewarded, he was reprimanded by the vigilance officer. Why did you write to the Prime Minister directly? And a few days later, he sacrificed his life for the country. Another brave heart, Manjunath Shanmugam, on whom a movie was made recently. He took on the oil adulteration scam. As you know, there is a big gap between the price of kerosene and diesel in India, and that's the reason we have adulteration. Manjunath also had to lose his life in this battle against it. Our colleague, Santosh Kohli, she used to work very closely with Arvind. She took on the ration mafia scam in Delhi. There were 12 attempts on her life. And with each attempt, her resolve to fight this menace only grew stronger. She was nominated as a candidate for the Delhi Assembly elections. And despite very well knowing the threats to her life, she continued in her battle. And she sacrificed her life for the country. So there are several such examples. Ashok Khemka, an IAS officer, 45 transfers in 20 years. But he kept fighting against it. He was the one who could talk against Vadra, the most powerful family in the country, talked against it. So these are the inspirations. And Rahulji introduced me as I gave up a lot. But what these people have given, in the sense we've done very, very little. Arvindji quite famously says that अंधेरा आए तो रोशनी से भीख मांगने, हम अपना घर ना जलाते तो क्या करते? So we had to give up something. If we have to do something for this country, we had to do something. So when the opportunity came, we were canvassing in Delhi. I think it was like a freedom struggle for us. We didn't think about it as elections or politics or whatever. We didn't even know the names of the candidates. We just went out and he spoke about the corruption in this country. We spoke about the criminalization of politics. We spoke about communalism in politics. And we could quite sense that this is something that people wanted. And some people may have been surprised by what they saw as a result, a Delhi election result. But we knew it was coming because people were desperate for a change. And we were carrying that same wave across the country. In the 49 days that we had the government in Delhi, I think we did some revolutionary things. Many political parties could not have achieved that in several years. And everybody knows about it, but we halved the electricity tariffs, we managed to give water at much reasonable prices. Corruption in Delhi actually fell drastically. It was a fraction of what it was before the elections in Delhi. In Maharashtra, I had the opportunity of working on the electricity scam, which we call the power or the power scam. We just mentioned about. So obviously the scam in Maharashtra was at different levels. So there was theft of electricity by the politicians. So electricity that was meant for the agricultural sector was diverted to the politicians, engineering colleges and their sugar factories. You had theft of coal. So as you know, coal in India comes from Coal India, which goes to the washeries for actually beneficiation of that coal. And then it goes to the power companies. So each MLA or an MP in Maharashtra, wherever there was a power plant, used to treat it as his personal fiefdom. And that coal used to go to the washeries, which were then controlled by some of these politicians. And the good coal used to be then sold into the open market, and the dirty coal, further mixed with mud and sand, was sent to the power plants. So actually, power plants of NTPC, which were made of the same make, operated 85% PLF, and Mahajanpur's plant worked at 50% PLF. So this was low-hanging fruit. It was obvious. We did a few RTIs, got that information, put it to the people. It was covered very well by the press. The NCP goons attacked our office the next day. We decided to do our own protest, so we went and swept, we did the Jhadu Abhiyan in front of the NCP offices. So it was a great experience. I think we made a difference, we made an impact. There were a lot of other scams which were done around the same time and which we unearthed. There was the irrigation scam, in which my colleague Anjali Damania, she played a big role in unearthing it. The decision to fight the elections, obviously it was not a premeditated decision. I had left my job earlier. But when the opportunity came, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to convey some of my deepest thoughts to the electorate. So we really didn't go the conventional way of campaigning. So we had a group of few dedicated volunteers. We went door to door because we did not have the resources like the other political parties. To put it into perspective, what we spent across the country for the national elections was what both the Congress and the BJP would have spent in a single constituency. In my constituency, they would have spent more than what we spent across the entire country. So we fought the entire elections for maybe 20 to 30 crore rupees, 200 to 300 million rupees. And I think both these parties would have spent in this single constituency more than that. So we did door-to-door campaigns. We did nukkad sabhas, we addressed the people. We went to the slum dwellers, we stayed with them, understood their problems. You wouldn't believe that there are tribal villages very close to Bombay, where still there is no water, there is no electricity, there is no basic medical facilities. So people still die of snake bites. By the time they are brought down, it's just 5 kilometers away, they have to lose their life. So I think this gap between haves and have-nots is quite stark, especially in a city like Mumbai. As you know that 2/3 of the city stays in the slums. So Mumbai is maybe 450 square kilometers. 85% of the population, 80 to 85% of the population stays in 10% of the land. So we had thought of a policy for housing in Mumbai, for example, where we could have provided housing to all the slum dwellers with good amenities, without any subsidy from the government. Why does this not happen? If this is so obvious to us, why doesn't it happen? Because the other political parties treat it as their vote bank. They want the poor to stay poor, so that their vote bank is protected. And when we went to the electorate with this promise, or this idea, they were very happy. Friends, when the election results were announced, obviously, as Yogendraji said, people thought that we didn't do as well or we lost. But I think we achieved quite a bit. 12 million votes or 2% vote share. I think it was a great achievement in my view. AAP still remains the hope for the country. I think we've achieved quite a bit, but there is a lot to achieve yet. What are we doing now? We're trying to build up a volunteer base. So we've got, as he said, 1 lakh volunteers in Mumbai. We're trying to build that base. You'd be surprised to know that a lot of people are still coming to us. People are saying that, okay, for the national elections, we wanted stability. But when there are elections at the state or the corporation level, AAP will remain a relevant party to vote for. So we are forming Mohalla Sabhas. We have started a corruption helpline in Mumbai. And we've already got our first success. Just recently, the way it works is we've got a corruption helpline, people call on that. Our volunteers attend to that, they understand the ground realities. And then with the Anti-Corruption Bureau, we may take the help of the CBI if required. So there was one RPF case which came to us recently. And we got two people who were involved in corruption arrested. This was just 2 days back. In terms of Mohalla Sabhas, we think that Arvindji has written this in his book Swaraj, but I think that's the way to go, because there is too much of centralization of power. That is the bane of our democracy. We are really not a democratic country in that sense. We take pride that we are the world's largest democracy and we've got a vibrant electoral system. But the voice of the people is really not heard. And that's the reason we want to give more power to the people. And that we are already seeing the benefit of that. The Mohalla Sabha that we have started forming earlier in Delhi and now in Bombay, people have started questioning their corporators. People have started questioning their MLAs. And if they are made a part of the decision making, if they are made a part of the money that comes to the constituency, if they are made a part of spending that, I think that will be literally the victory for the democracy. So India is at an inflection point. We think that the next 5 to 10 years will be the best time for India because we are sitting on great demographics. India is a young country. More than 50% of the population is less than 30 years of age. India will be contributing more to the working population than US, Japan, Europe and China put together for the next 10 years. So we need to capitalize on this opportunity, and this will happen only if corruption comes down. Because I think when we were working on the manifesto, for example, it was not no rocket science. India's GDP is completely understated. You've got a parallel economy which runs. So if that parallel economy is integrated into mainstream economy, even if your tax rates go down by 20-30%, your collections will actually increase by 20-30%. If your expenditure is more efficient, your fiscal deficit can get completely wiped out. So this is putting it a little simplistically, but I think that opportunity is very significant. So we are hoping for a better country. We will continue to work the way we have been, and it may be even harder. I think the Delhi elections will be a great opportunity for us. We have to show the country a governance model, because people think that, okay, we are good people, but we don't know how to govern. So we need to demonstrate that governance model. And if we do that, I think we will be able to make a significant impact. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time.